Money, consumption, status, and power have long driven our culture's pulse. They've shaped our motivations, our behaviors, and our beliefs. But what happens when we give art the same influence? Writers, designers, musicians, photographers, videographers, and the world's most creative minds have the power to heal us, challenge us, and guide us back home to ourselves. In their hands and through their crafts, we find a new world, one where art is a catalyst for powerful change, where self-expression, human connection, and deep empathy are the world's richest assets. This is Art is the New Wall Street, with your host, Morgan Short.
Hi, artists and creative friends. Welcome back to Art is the New Wall Street. I'm super excited for today's episode. We're welcoming my dear friend, Gabrielle Lulloff, or Gabs, as you'll hear me call her throughout the show. Gabs is a total badass. She's a brand manager who's worked with brands like Goodwill and currently for Imprint. She's a creative marketing strategist, and she's the brain behind a new form of art expression called Wance. And yes, you heard that correctly, Wance. Come to welcome this all-around creative and brilliant soul and my dear friend Gabs to the show.
Get out of here, you.
Welcome, Gabs.
Well, thanks for having me, Morgan. I'm happy to be here.
Today, we're going to dive into the creative world of Gabs and explore how creativity has shaped her life, her career, and led her to eventually create and sound Wance.
What a beautiful introduction, Morgan. I love it.
One other little note for the audience. Gabs and I are pretty great friends and spiritual sisters, so our conversation might wander off the beaten path a little bit, and that's really fun. We'll just roll with it.
It really does.
All right, Gabs, let's start at the beginning. Take us back to a moment or experience from your childhood, early life that molded you into this creative human being that you are.
That is a really fun question. I absolutely love it. Goodness gracious. My childhood was absolutely chaotic and fun-filled and adventurous. But when I was a kid, I absolutely loved poetry. I loved doing song parodies at a really young age. And then one thing I really wanted to be when I was older was actually a clown. So I had kind of a love for non-traditional art forms at kind of a young age. I even took a clowning class when I was in second grade. May I say I nailed it? Not the balloon animals as well, but everything else, I was a pretty good clown. So I kind of, looking back at my childhood and all of the different things I loved, I really didn't know if I'd ever find a career that kind of fit that love of writing song parodies, writing poetry, and then just clowning around. But it's interesting because I really think I was able to find that in marketing. And even if I'm not doing, all of those things in my work life,
yeah,
I think it's so important to bring those things forward, those things at childhood that really, I think at childhood, that's, when your form of self, that's the purest form of self that you can get. So if there's any way to integrate those elements from childhood into your life. So I may not clown now, but because of the Wance initiative, I feel like I'm able to integrate that back into my life and use those creative things that I was really good at as a kid into my adulthood now.
I had no idea you took a clowning class. Did you have a clown name?
Gosh, if I did remember it, but I'm kind of have fun brainstorming that now.
Oh, I love that. And it speaks to Wance too, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But before that, how has your creativity guided your career?
So it's interesting. One, I'm going to start off by saying that I don't think any 18-year-old should ever know what they're going to do the rest of your life. Because when I was 18, I was exploring a lot of different career paths where I could use really song parodies was kind of the one. What can I do? I really wanted to be a writer on SNL. That was kind of a little far-fetched. I looked at film schools in New York City. But I'll say this, when I look at those big dreams, when I had it that 18-year age, fear was definitely the biggest thing that maybe not even try to do the SNL thing or the film school thing. I actually applied for the AmeriCorps at 18 and was rejected from it. So at that point in my life, I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? And my mom was going to school for marketing at that time, and she was doing all this fun, creative stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, this is marketing. And it's crazy that I think I was like 19, 20 years old when I actually first heard that term as a career. So it was just kind of an easy transition when I was seeing all these fun, creative things that my mom was doing. I'm like, I could write a song parody for marketing and bring that to life. I got really excited about that thought. So I think I haven't really written a song parody for anything professionally yet, but I do it regularly in my adulthood, whether anybody wants it or not. So even if I don't have that opportunity to bring that forward, I'm still going to find a way to do it because I love to do it. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps my creativity force strong, that I'm still utilizing those things that I love so much, that at my core essence and sense of self, really.
I think fear stops a lot of us from producing art or going after those big dreams. What do you do to combat the fear of putting yourself out there or creating poetry or writing or doing anything really that's creative?
I think it's recognizing that it's a fear that might stop you from doing something. I think that's kind of the first step is, why am I not doing this? Why am I saying I can't do this? And then really tapping into oh, this is fear. Well, if it's fear, screw it. I can do it. Like, I can get over fear. This is my own enemy in my own head. I can get over that. So I think once I identify it's just my own little, my own little head game, then yeah, I can get over that pretty easy. You just do it. The more times you do shit that scares you, the easier it gets. So, I mean, I think I'm at a point where if it doesn't scare me, it's not even worth doing anymore.
Ooh, that's fire. Because in fear is where you grow. If something scared, if you're not uncomfortable, are you even growing?
I don't think you are. When I really reflect on like my life's journey and where, like, I'm so happy at where I ended up, but the amount of decisions I made, and I didn't realize it was fear at the time, but the amount of decisions I made that were based on fear, it kind of blows me away in retrospect.
Oh, say more about that.
Well, I think I'll go back to, I mean, it kind of with the career opportunity, it was fear of not being able to be successful. Like, sure, I wanted to be a writer on SNL, but that's like 30 people on the entire planet who have that opportunity to do that. So yeah, I just gave it up before even trying something or starting doing like improv stuff or Second City or even going down that path of exploring things that light me up because I was afraid of failing.
Well, fear doesn't stop you from doing everything, as we'll get into.
No, it doesn't.
But before we get to Wance, how has your creativity influenced your approach to marketing and branding? Do you have any specific strategies that are core to what you do in marketing?
Sure. Well, one, as much as I love the creative aspect of everything, I think it's just so important to use both sides of your brain. And I think that's especially true for marketing. It probably is true for a lot of other art forms, but I really think that's kind of number one, is being able to use both sides of your brain and being able to go back and forth quickly.
You and I were talking in preparation for this episode, and we were talking about how even like left side, right side, or feminine, masculine side of your brain, and your energy, like even writing the to-do list feels like a creative act.
Yeah, no, it was kind of a realization the other day. And I know that you can relate to this because of your Virgo-ness, but like, because I love writing to-do lists. Like, I have fun with it. And I'm like, why am I so obsessed with my to-do list? And I was kind of looking at it as a negative thing. Like, I was too stuck in my ways, but then I started looking at it from another angle. I'm like, no, this is a really cool way to create, because it's one of the fastest ways that you can see your ideas coming to life. And you can have fun with your to-do list too. It doesn't have to be a mundane, like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this. But, you can shape it like, oh, these are the fun to-dos I want to do. And these are the things I have to do. And then kind of play around with your to-do. And yeah, making it an art form. It doesn't have to be a boring like thing that we do in life. Have fun with it, just with a normal to-do list.
Hell yeah. One thing that I do in my planner that I've been doing for the last couple of years is I write like 24 things for 24, but then I have year in review.
Okay.
And I put music, travels, TV shows, books and podcasts, business milestones, restaurants, bars, and coffee shops. And then I just write throughout the year, like the movies I've seen, I rank them, the restaurants I've visited, like all of that. And I just keep it right in my planner.
It's so fun.
It's so fun.
I love that.
It's the art.
It's like a to-do list thing on steroids.
Exactly.
Love it.
Exactly. Are you one of those people who, when you make your to-do list, you add stuff that you've already done so you can cross them off?
100%. It feels so fulfilling to be able to do that and just see those lines crossed off on your ongoing list and your living document. To write like my list for a week and then write out like Monday, Tuesday, and then those goals. But then it's fine if I don't hit those goals because I'll just make a to-do list for that other day and we move on with our lives.
I love it. Oh, the art of to-do lists.
Oh, there is an art form. It's beautiful.
Yes.
So again, you got to do your research, blah, 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 all of that, more of that left side stuff to get the process started. But what I love to do is start off completely crazy. And not everybody loves this. I feel like a lot of people are actually super uncomfortable with this. Like, have an objective, have as many perspectives to the table as you possibly can. And just shout out the craziest ideas. Like, get all of the ideas just out on paper. Don't give feedback right away. That's probably my biggest pet peeve is when you're in that idea phase, just shout them all out. We'll get to the stuff that doesn't work later. But let's start off with the crazy shit and then we'll build back. But then you got to use your left side of the brain. And then I really like to look at impact versus effort. Like, is it worth your time? What kind of impact are you going to do? And kind of do that impact versus effort analysis. And it pertains to marketing, but I feel like it can pertain to a lot of other art forms too. Is it going to be worth my time, I think, at the end of the day? But then that's kind of when you can take your crazy ideas and say, okay, this part could work, but maybe we have to rein in this part. So start off as crazy as possible. That's my number one tip for creative processes and brainstorming.
This is a really good philosophy for any form of art, really, is like, get it out and refine later. There's like
exactly.
There's a certain flow you get into when you're not like self-editing right away.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's people's natural instinct to like say, oh, be that devil's advocate in that part of the process. But I just think there's no place for a devil's advocate when you're just at those beginning phases of building beautiful things. Why put limits? Don't put limits. Don't limit anything at that phase. Limit later, not at the beginning. Have fun.
There's no place for a devil's advocate in the creative process at the beginning. I love that. We don't need more devil's advocates. Come on.
No, we have enough devil's advocates. No. Current limitations.
Yes, I mean, wild creative advocate. That's what we need. We need people who are excited.
Absolutely. Oh, that gives me goosebumps. I love it. Gets the jams.
All right. Tell me what makes a good brand.
So what makes a good brand? Morgan, you know me. I love my self-alliteration. And you did pose me that question earlier. And it's funny because sometimes I think my brain only thinks in alliteration. Like it doesn't work if it doesn't alliterate. But of course, the first thing that came to my mind were all C's. So I think there are 3 C's to building a good brand. And I think it comes to being compelling, having that emotional connection, resonating with your audience, and just attracting that attention, doing something that's going to bring people in. Clear, compelling, and consistent. But as far as the clarity is concerned, I feel like it's just being, not using all this jargon or just being straight to the point, being clear with your competitive advantages, being clear who you are, what you stand for, not trying to get all fancy. I mean, you only have a few seconds to resonate with your audience. So don't spend that time confusing them. Spend that time being super clear, being consistent. And then that emotional connection is so important because you can be clear and have that consistency all day long. But if you're not emotionally connecting with people, then you're screwed. I mean, you really need to have all 3, in my opinion, to have a strong brand.
I agree.
Do you have any other C words that work?
I would say connection is super important. Was that one of yours just now? Connection?
It wasn't one, but kind of felt it went under compelling.
Yeah.
We could add that. Connection and compelling.
Yeah, definitely. Connection, community, I would add. I mean, I think you have to build
community.
I think connection and community go hand in hand, but I think you definitely have to.
I love those. I'm adding those to it's now 5 C's, everyone. It's now 5 C's.
It's now 5 C's. Yeah, especially with, AI and everybody just creating content at the masses, like that connection piece, that human piece is so important.
I could not agree more. Yep. There's a lot of noise in this world. So much. You're just going to be in the background if you're not touching anyone's heartstrings.
It's not a C word, but there's a C in it. Authenticity.
Yes. That's That's number one, if you ask me, actually. But no, that is more than just a brand. That's in life.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It is. It is in life. I personally want to show up so much more authentic. Like that's such a guiding principle for me. Okay, Gabs, let's switch gears a little
Okay.
bit and get into
Perfect.
Wance. So for those who maybe haven't heard of Wance, can you tell us exactly what Wance
Absolutely.
is?
So Wance is pretty straightforward. It is a combination of two words. It is a combination of dance and walk. So essentially, it's a group of people who are dancing while they're walking at a specific location or event that I had previously set up.
Oh, I just love it. I'm in Windsor myself, and I think the creatives and the artists that are listening in should definitely hear about the birth story of Wance. So can you tell us about the whole story, how you started
Yeah,
it, where it's at now?
absolutely. So I created Wance in 2020. I think we're all familiar with 2020 and how hard 2020 was for a lot of different people. We were all just I hate the word the new normal, but that is what we were searching for in 2020. I mean, I think it was dark for a lot of people. I'm an extrovert, so that was an adjustment for me. I get my energy and my excitement and my enthusiasm from other people. So I was down. I was definitely down. I was looking for ways to keep me motivated, to keep me positive, just keep me sane, I guess, during those times. So I started, I was doing this kind of a soul searching time, but I definitely started going out in nature more, wanting to get in going on walks, just moving more. So I was going on walks regularly. Was listening to music, and then I would dance whenever I would start dancing and I was walking down the street. But whenever I would walk by a neighbor's house or someone was mowing their lawn or a car would drive by, I stopped every single time. And then I would, just act normal. But then I would start dancing again every single time they went by. And I just kept doing this. I'm like, oh man, this is amazing. Like I feel incredible. Like I was kind of blown away at how awesome I felt on a regular basis. I was just getting people into it. And yeah, but the day that it really had the biggest impact was the day that I did not stop wancing or dancing when a car would go by. Because the reactions I got from just like people seeing me grooving on the street, me waving by was absolutely incredible. I'm like, wow, I think I'm making people's day right now. So then I really got excited about it. And I kind of made it a thing like, I can't wait to go out and make people's day, go outside and wance more and jam out. I was feeling good. I was
Yep.
spreading joy to other people. And I'm like, shit, this should be a thing. Because I wanted to get this out into the community because I knew how good it made me feel. So I'm like, I wanted people to be able to experience this. I really wanted it to be a group activity so people didn't have to have that fear of going in it alone because it is intimidating to just go out and dance on the street in the middle of town by yourself. So yeah, that was a big part of it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start doing events. I'm going to, spread it around locally, handle flyers. And at this time too, with social distancing, it was something people could do because you could do it 6 feet apart and you didn't have to worry about that. So the timeliness was just kind of perfect with it. So I live in Oshkosh. I started doing events every single week in Oshkosh. And I think I was kind of surprised at how much people enjoyed it. I'm like, okay, people are getting into this. This is awesome. So then the next year, I started spreading it to other areas, built it up locally, spread more to the Fox Valley. And the interest was there. And I'm like, all right, and sometimes the interest wasn't there, but that was okay too, because I was okay going out in the middle of the street and dancing by myself. So I was still spreading joy and I was still building up my confidence and I was getting exercise that I actually enjoyed because you have to enjoy exercise if you're gonna do it. And I struggled with that. So it's just kind of a perfect balance of, hey, this is exercise I love to do. I'm spreading joy. I feel amazing about myself. So, you know, it just kind of that momentum was like, okay, this became a passion project for me. Morgan has been wonderful. Last year, she helped me spread it to St. Paul. And my goodness, it's catching on there like wildfire. So it's just been an incredible experience. And it's just been growing and evolving since. And it just started off with me just dancing on my street on my walks.
And it was just in Washington, D.C. this week,
Yes,
right?
this past Sunday was a launch of Wance in Washington, D.C. So super excited where that's going to go. I'm thinking we can do a nice big launch there in a few months.
So the ripple effects that you have created just by stepping out of the fear and making it happen is so freaking
Thank you.
cool. It's
And it
amazing.
was stepping out of the fear because sure, I was super scared to start. I didn't think anybody would come. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just going to be this crazy person dancing on the streets by myself with music. And, I had to put myself out there to explore and see if there was possibilities. And turns out there was.
And how does it make you feel? And then how, you have a ton of answers, a lot of them returning. What have you heard from them around like what it makes them feel and why?
Oh man, I've gotten so much positive feedback and I've heard it. And I think what's the beautiful thing about this is it's so different to every single person. I've had people reach out to me saying that they were struggling with depression over the last year and that this really helped them just get out of their own heads. I've had people say they have social anxiety, but it was a good way to start meeting people because it's free and it's and that person felt aligned with what we're doing. I've heard people say how it was that they just like to bring their kids so that their kids can see adults just letting loose and having fun because that's something that adults kind of forget to do. And I don't think they always see the value in what that actually does to yourself and spirit. So I've heard that feedback that they just want their kids to see that it's okay to just let loose and have fun. And, I don't think it's fair that kids get to have all the fun. If I'm going to be honest, I think we deserve to have some dance parties as adults. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Isn't that what creativity is though? Is like being like childlike
Yes.
and curious
100%.
and
Exploration, just exploring, figuring out
not
what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what feels right, what lights you up. And yeah, just exploring. We definitely don't do enough exploring as humans, in my opinion. But yeah, and honestly, and I've heard people for just exercise purposes too, because their doctor told them they need to get out and exercise and they don't want to go to the gym or they have fears of going to the gym. So I think people join Wance for a multitude of different reasons, but it's amazing to see everyone come together and do their thing.
so you've told me a little bit about like what you've heard from others, but what about for you personally? What does Wance do for you? How does it make you feel? And
Morgan,
yeah.
okay, so there are times when I'm just wancing and, sometimes it's honestly a little surreal because I just take a step back and I look and I'm seeing cars driving by and they're like dancing along and, there's just the people are smiling and they're having so much fun. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a rare occurrence to just seeing without like a catering back to like let loose and have fun in that capacity. So for me, it's just like there are times when especially, when there's larger groups of people, there's something really magical about a really big group of people. But I'll just look and I'll stop and I'm like, I can't believe that I helped create this. It blows me away. Like, it's just all about happiness and positivity and confidence and letting go of fear. And I'm very passionate about all of those topics.
Hey, artists and creative friends. We had a quick break in the action here because I actually had a quick technical snag. So you'll hear us jump back in and we're still talking about Wance. We're back for take 2, back after the inner room.
We're Wednesday. We're dancing. We're sitting and dancing.
There's so many things you could do with that.
Dancing, car dancing. Like there are so many that can work.
Absolutely. Okay, so we were just about to. So we had a quick break there because, believe it or not, this is a virtual podcast and we had some technical difficulties there. So I was just backing up some files. But I want to be transparent in the way this podcast is going. And I'm a beginner to this, So we are just going with the flow.
Take your transparency, Morgan.
And I can
That's all you'll get from her, everyone.
And
authenticity.
I can feel old layers of me shedding in being authentic with you and letting the imperfection be revealed. So
Show it. Show it.
All right, Cab. So we were just about to get into the principles of Wance. Can you talk to me about those?
You got it. So this itself was a creative process, and you're aware of it because you were a part of the creative process. And that's like my favorite. I love working on that with other people. Like you have an idea, but just getting it through a few more perspectives to get it perfect. So that was this part of the process. It started with different ideas, and Morgan was there helping me perfect it into what we really saw it as what it should be. So the number one,
wasn't it a napkin project to start?
yes, it started off at the back of a napkin. I wonder if I still have that napkin. Because I'm like, I can't use this. And then I make you bring back.
If you have it somewhere, take a picture of it and we can
Yes.
put it in the in the show notes or the
Okay, that would be
words.
cool. I mean, I
Yeah.
probably won't find it, but that would be cool.
And I have a photo of it for some reason. I don't know.
Mine.
Okay, keep
Because I
going.
don't like clutter. Because I'm like, once I wrote it digitally, I might have gotten rid of it. So who knows?
All right. So tell me the
Okay.
principles.
So number one principle is spreading positivity is a boomerang that sparks joy within and transmits to others. Number two, I know. Embracing fear shatters limiting beliefs and fuels personal growth. Number three, falling in love with movement opens your heart to living fully. Number four, radically expressing yourself ignites confidence and empowers generations to come. And lastly, investing your energy where you feel light and happy lets you witness the human experience expand. And gosh, when I read these out loud, I mean, this really works for any art form, which is beautiful. I love that.
I love it
Okay.
too. And it's a huge part of the reason why I wanted you on, because I think you walk principles of creativity. And I think just being a human and being able to come up with such a cool new form of art expression through this like cool movement is just, it's awesome. I think more people need to like just get out of their own way and do it.
Get out of your own head. I mean, that's every day of the week. Get out of your own head. You'll go far.
For the audience, logistically with Wance,
Yeah.
you bring a big speaker. Can you talk a little bit more about like what happens when at a Wance event?
Yeah, sure. So I went through an evolution of speakers. I'll tell you that much because I started with these small speakers, but outside the music doesn't carry. So I ended up with these very large rolling speakers that are beautiful. Shout out to Exo Gear because they're huge. They roll and they actually connect to up to 50 speakers. So if I wanted to have a Wance of like 3,000 people, it might be a stretch. I think I could handle it with these speakers. So essentially usually I just need one for the group size. Up to 30 people, I think is good for the size speaker I have. So I have a speaker. I've got an awesome playlist. My sister might argue that it's not awesome, but I think it is. Because that's part of it too, trying to find music that works for everybody. I've learned not every song works that you can dance to actually works for Wance, which is kind of interesting because you kind of have to have that like that peppy or that beat to walk and dance to at the same time. You don't think about that stuff necessarily. So it's having a really solid list, and you got to have a variety for everyone. So I have it from the 70s to today's music so that everybody can get into it. I started with like the wedding playlist because I was like, everybody knows those songs. Everybody can dance to those. So you'll see a lot of that, the music that you hear at a wedding on that list too. But I think it's a great variety. Right? Roll the speaker around and everyone kind of just follows along and dances to the music as they go. All freestyle, no choreographing. So yeah, and we go for about 45 minutes to an hour. We pick a spot to meet and then we just kind of go up and down the street in that location. We're in Oshkosh and Appleton, St. Paul, and starting in Washington, D.C. right now.
Love it. And are there plans to expand beyond the
Absolutely. As far as I can spread this, I will spread this. I'm still working on that plan to see how I'm going to do that. I have some ideas. We're in that ideation place. I think I'm just going to feel those out. I'd really like to turn this into a nonprofit because another big part of Wance is that the inclusivity part of it. I really want to make sure that this is something that anybody or anyone can feel included in. So yeah, I think that if I would love to be able to turn this into a nonprofit and actually be able to spread this all across the United States. So I'm working on it slowly. So if I have people who are interested in it, I help them set up in that area for now, and then I'll potentially visit and help them launch it off. It's kind of how it's working now. I love it. But who the hell knows, honestly? It's growing every year, and I'm not like putting in like all this energy into growing it per se. It's kind of been very organic. So if I put in more energy, I think I can do a hell of a lot more. So that's exciting.
I absolutely adore Wance so much.
Well, because you got the moves, girl.
Just I just like the principle of it. It's such a cool idea. And it's also like I love lancing on Wednesdays because it's like the middle of the week. You're kind of almost in a lull, but then you go and you're surrounded by other people and you don't care. Like you don't care about anything. And then like when people see the big group dancing, a lot of times they'll join in or honk or smile or whatever. And it's just so fun. Even the reactions that aren't like super for it, I'm like, I don't care. That's so great. Reaction.
Oh, I know.
So fun.
It's like the first person who ignores you. You're like, who cares? Because then that's either the reaction. You either get people who try to ignore you and not make eye contact, or you get the people who are super excited and want to join in. But we have people like from way across the street joining in. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's not necessarily for everyone, but like doing things like this, you find your audience and you find your tribe and you find people who are like-minded and want to, like explore this form of art expression as well. So it's cool.
Absolutely.
It's cool.
Yes. And even if you want to come and check it out, like I tell people, don't even feel like you have to dance. Just check it out. If you want to bob your head a little bit and slowly get into it, build yourself that path until you do have that confidence level. But the goal is to build that confidence level up. Maybe one day you'll be able to just dance at the grocery store by yourself and build up to that point.
Any curveballs or unexpected challenges while you've been working on Wance?
Good question. I would say the biggest curveball, it's kind of funny, is how I love Wance so much. And, my career is in marketing. So I think the biggest curveball was how resistant I was to want to do marketing for Wance. Because sometimes you just want to turn that side off. And sometimes I just want to Wance. Like I just want to be a participant and just Wance. But, you have to come back and do your video work, post about it. And I do love it. I'm not complaining, but I think just because I'm doing marketing all the time, the energy to market my own stuff is a bit more of a challenge. So that was interesting because I thought like, I'm a marketer. This will just be easy, but it was the wanting to market and update your website and the stuff you need to do for your other company or clients that, it's a lot of time and energy to market it. So that was surprising for me because I thought that would just be the easiest part, but it wasn't.
Well, of course, like you spend all day doing marketing for other brands and then you have this passion project and it's like, okay, so now I have to take my work into this passion project too. And I have to do more marketing. Like I'm already burned out and
you hear more about it too.
Yeah.
So you want to give it more energy. So you almost back burner stuff because you care so much and you go for that perfection level, which is that's kind of a killer of creativity right there.
Oh yes. I feel this in my day to day as well. Just like I do a lot of writing and content creation in my 9 to 5. And even like starting this podcast, it's like, I want it to just feel really aligned and I want it to be about art and creativity because that's what's firing me up. But the parts of the podcast, that's like the technical parts or like when we'll have to market this, talk about it. Like it's definitely like that is definitely feeling like, my day job or.
Right. Yeah. So finding that balance. Yeah. Because it's like the creativity and that stuff is what you want to do and spend your energy on and not the stuff you have to do for your job every day. So it's definitely a challenge.
How do you balance that? How do you balance nurturing your own creativity and your own passion projects with your 9 to 5?
Making sure I put myself first in all circumstances. I mean, that sounds super selfish, but I think that's number one. If I'm bogging myself down with I mean, even if Wance, I mean, it is a passion project and I love it, but if I'm not finding joy in it, then I need to take a break from it because the more I do it, the more it's going to weigh down on me. So I think it's just being able to separate yourself and just do something fun. I mean, I think I've been doing that pretty well the last few years. Honestly, since Wance started, it really was a trailblazer for changing the way my mind worked around that kind of stuff. But I mean, I don't know, I started going to adult skate nights or scheduling an adult skate nights, just random fun, like hiking. I took myself on a little vacation up north and I did, or just go kayaking. So I think it's just stuff that gets you out of routine. I think routine can be the killer of creativity and intuition when you're just kind of doing things to do things and you kind of forget what the purpose is behind them. So I think just making sure I separate, take a break and do something just stupid and fun and like brainless and, just completely outside of what I'm doing every single day that is not even close to my routine. That's where I'm going to get my refocus and re-energize myself in anything that I'm doing.
That little vacation that you went on, where'd you go again?
It was Goodman, Wisconsin. It was right on the border of Michigan and Wisconsin, but it was beautiful. It had a hot tub and sauna. I took very good care of myself that weekend.
I love that. What did that do for your creativity?
Oh my God. Well, it's funny because then I just started doing more creative things like that weekend. I think because I was taking a break from all that other, producing. Like I did my dream board, my vision board that weekend. I wrote a few poems. I was just doodling and doing random stuff, writing in my notes, like ideas that came to my mind. Cause I mean, I had no internet. I really didn't have internet. I didn't have any of that stuff. It was fantastic to unplug. So yeah, like it kind of ignited a whole nother area of creativity that I love utilizing, but I almost forget to integrate into my life, even though it fires me up. But yeah, I was using a whole different side of my creative side. And yeah, it definitely was it was a nice reset. I feel like everybody needs to reset sometimes, get out of the grind, the routine. Routine it's a wonderful thing, but it can be very dangerous too, I think.
I was actually going to ask you all about your routine habits or rituals that keep your creative.
Routines.
We have a clear answer from Gabs on the routines. No routines for Gabs. Get out of them.
Oh, I don't do routine well. I used to think that there was something like really positive in doing like the same thing. But I found that to be like, then you're not listening to yourself. You stop listening to yourself when you're in a routine. When you're able to kind of get out of that, you're like, oh, okay, do I really want to do this? Or could I maybe do this differently? And it could access different results. So yeah, yeah, that you can discard that question because I think routine is evil. Can be. It has the potential to. I'll say that.
I love it. In any form of creative expression, there's your original initial idea, and then you bring it to life and you bring it to an audience and a community. And then if it's something like Wance, where it's like an ongoing thing, you're going to start getting ideas and hearing feedback. And so in your process of creating Wance, how do you maintain that balance between staying true to your original vision while adapting to the feedback and like expanding the community with other ideas and thoughts from so many different Wancers and people who love it?
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, as anything, it's going to evolve. I mean, we should. I mean, humans, anything, we should evolve, we should grow. But I think and I want people to share their perspectives and opinions. Some of it I'm going to take and some of it I'm not going to take. But I think that it is about hearing it all and understanding what that means to that person, because that's going to be valuable information for me, whether I use it or not. Because, there's some ideas, like we've got ideas about like, oh, you should bring this to workplace collaboration. I love that idea. One, I'm not really at the place to do that yet. But I love that idea and I love thinking about where I could take that direction. It might not be exactly where that person said it, but I mean, it opens the door to so many ways of I can think and I can take it. So I think it's just about really filtering it through and taking it all in, having an open mind and listening to everybody, but just kind of filtering it through your own system, really through that vision. I think you could write down your vision, but I think in my case for Wance, I know what my vision is. And I think the 5 principles really speak to what that vision is. So if it is in alignment with that spreading joy or building confidence, then, maybe there's a way I can take that idea and make it work for that. But I'm not going to say I have to. But yeah, I got to filter it through myself and make sure it fits within that vision and fits with where I'm seeing it. But I would love, I'm going to listen to people because I don't have the same perspective as that person. So I want to hear it and understand why they have it.
It kind of goes back to that. You don't need to be devil's advocate right now because we're in the idea phase, except
Yes. Yeah.
it's like a circle, like you've already gone
Yes.
through it. And now with an ongoing creative art expression, like now you're going to continue to see that feedback loop. And
Yes. And then it can all when it makes sense because maybe at that, and timeliness is a big part of that too, in where you're at in your growth phase as well. So yeah, table it all. Keep it all in that like unlimited bucket of ideas and potential. And so you can
Yeah.
continuously look in that bucket of potentialities and grab from it and grow from it and build it into whatever it is you want to build and grow it into.
Yeah. And then testing those ideas against your why behind Wance and making
Yes.
sure it's in alignment with your vision. That's beautiful. I love it.
Yes. Ooh, yes. Beautiful. Yes.
All right. We've got a couple more questions for you and we'll wrap up here in a few minutes. But this is something that I think I'm going to start asking like all of my guests that I bring on, which is just what does creativity mean to you? If you had to try to define it.
I feel like I'm a broken record when I say this, but the first thing that comes to my mind is not having limits. I feel like that is kind of the essence of what creativity is yeah, not putting limits on things or ideas and just, it's almost like a place of expression of possibility. Write that down.
Creativity is possibility. I like it.
I mean, that's what it is. It's just a big space of potential and to take potentials into new potentials. And yeah, you have no idea. But I think a place of no limits is what creativity means to me.
Oh, I love that, Gabs. And
Thank you.
follow up to that is who is an artist?
Who is an artist? I think anybody can be an artist. I think people can get bogged down on what it means to be an artist. Like you think you have to have, your cliche paintbrush. But I mean, especially in the world we live in now, like the digital era of things. And I mean, it's just completely limitless of what can be considered art. And art is the most subjective thing that exists on this planet, if you ask me. Well, that's probably not true. Everything's kind of subjective. Anyway, different conversation. But no, anybody can be an artist. It's bringing, I mean, we can be artists with our to-do list and bringing things to life. So yeah, everybody's an artist, damn it.
I love it. And what advice would you give to others who are trying to create more, hone their creativity more, consider themselves an artist, call themselves an artist? What advice do you have for them?
I would say one, get out of your own head. We tell and sell these stories about ourselves that a lot of times just aren't true. And those stories end up limiting what it is that we can create. So number one, just, yeah, get out of your own head. The only limits that exist are in your head.
Okay. Rounding this out, where can we find you? And are there any plugs that you want to make about any upcoming work you're doing or Wance events you're hosting or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. So you can find out more information on our website. It's revolution.com. We even have a new merch store, which is pretty exciting. I can't believe I got that thing running. That was a beast. But we really, honestly, I probably post most on Facebook when it comes to updates and events. We start out our Wance season in either March or April every year, but it goes until October. We're in cold weather areas, so we had a limit on our season. But yeah, I would say check out Facebook. That is Wance Revolution on Facebook. I try to keep things positive and light and really post content that speaks truly to the message of Wance that's behind it. So you'll find fun videos of us Wancing on the street, but you'll also find some positive and uplifting messages that align with what Wance is at its core.
Oh man, Gabs. Thank you for thank you for coming on the show and sharing your journey with Wance and your insights into branding, your perspectives on creativity, to-do lists, and just thanks for being you and living and breathing creativity and authenticity. You inspire me.
You're
And I'm
wonderful.
sure
You inspire me.
I'm sure your episode is going to inspire our audience as well. To all of our listeners out there, huge thanks for tuning in and hanging out with me and Gabs today. I love this little community we're building. Keep creating, keep making magic. Your art is a gift, not only to yourself, but to the world. See you next time. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Art is the New Wall Street. If you liked what you heard today, give our show a follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find us on social media or at artistthenewwallstreet.com. Keep creating, and we'll see you next time.